Hello right bags, it's Jade. Welcome to a new world video today. So much information has just been released today via PC Gamer, new footage, new hands-on experience with the game, as well as MMORPG, a website with loads of details. We're going to be covering that. I'm also going to be covering the blog posts that have gone up, the written one discussing settlements for New World, how it's going to work, and also a little bit about factions, and then the actual vlog, video vlog, detailing a little bit more about the factions. In fact, there's a whole bunch of info and I've kind of mixed some of it together, so I'm going to try and do some timestamps now, but generally there's a lot of info here that I might have mixed up a bit from some of the articles and some of the vlogs. Next time I will try and break it down a little bit better. New World, of course, is meant to be a survival MMO, but it's looking increasingly likely that the survival elements are being cut out of it completely, well, almost completely. Does it make it a better game? I'm not sure. There are a lot of concerns in the community at the moment from people, ex-players, people that have played the alpha and the brand new alpha that's just started up again. And already we've got people breaking NDA or giving heavy criticism and possibly even being censored. So let's start with the blog post. There was a video of blog post detailing some of the factions, and we've got a bit more context with regards to that from MMORPG. I'll leave the article links for these in the description box or the comment section. So let's cover that stuff first.
When we created Turnham, we wanted to design and create a vast explorable world. Players will quickly realize that nothing ever really dies in this island.
Alongside the corrupted, there's three other major enemy groups that exist.
So as the vlog says, Azov is the powerful resource that you're pretty much fighting over. It can corrupt, it can warp people's minds, and the corrupted are part of that enemy set that will defend it or want it. So the corrupted are going to be the guys that come and attack your forts, your territory forts, and try and claim areas or try and basically bring you down. The faction you're seeing right now are the Lost, and these guys are pretty much your bog standard zombie style creature running around shipwrecks on the beaches, probably more or less the starting creatures you're going to come up against in terms of being, enemies that might be a bit hard. Then you've got the Angry Earth, and the Angry Earth are pretty much the natural resistance to players and what's going on. They're there to protect Eternum, but that means also maybe going against you. So expect tree-like sprite creatures, maybe more animalistic style, tree beard, that kind of thing. Then you've got something called the Ancients, and it looks like the Ancients might end up being like the big bosses that we may encounter in the open world. There are no dungeons, there are at the moment anyway, or there's maybe added after launch, but at the moment it's going to be big bosses that will maybe move around the world, or one big boss that moves around the world. But yeah, there's definitely no dungeons at the moment. That's what the developers have said in their vlog posts. But these Ancients are the structures, some of these big old ruins that are around the world, and it looks like there's going to be something to do with trying to activate them or getting control of these or exploring these to get treasures and loot. So all very good. That's the three main factions you'll come across, plus the corrupted that are going to attack you periodically in between players, maybe having war or battle with them as well. Let's talk about the player factions though. What ones you'll join? They are the Syndicate, a secret organisation full of guile and cunning. The Covenant believe they have the divine right to Eternum and want to cleanse the land of heretics and defilers. And the Marauders, who are just about ruthless military force. They are the factions that you will be choosing when you start and play the game. Every time you build yourself a settlement or you claim a settlement, you'll be claiming it in the name of one of these factions. So that all sounds pretty good. I like the idea of that. Pretty bog standard, what you expect from most MMOs. A couple surprising things though that I'm going to detail right now. It looks like survival is well and truly nullified. I might not even be able to play this game if they keep reducing the survival aspects, as I am really a survival channel. When it launched and when I got invited to LA by Amazon Games, it was a big part of their line, and you could sense though that they were veering away from the survival even then. And they did in fact remove the word survival from their taglines and the logo and the name of the game. And it looks like they've done away with it completely. Going on PC Gamer's wording, that pretty much you won't have to worry about drinking every 5 minutes, and you won't necessarily have to eat every 2 minutes either. Food is going to give you buffs and debuffs now, rather than being a necessity. And the same, I guess, goes with water. Maybe not as needed as other games like Ark, Conan Exiles, etc. But yeah, this is another thing that could potentially cause a bit of a ruckus, having the survival elements taken away, which is a big game. Like, survival is popular. So it's interesting they've decided to get away from that. A lot of people might love it because, let's face it, some of them aspects are really boring and grindy, trying to get food every day just to eat, etc., when you'd rather be exploring and taking on other players or enemies. But nevertheless, it's a big change. Also a big change is your ability to build. Now, I'm pretty sure, I only played the alpha once, but based on feedback that I saw, I was pretty sure they had base building in it. I could be completely wrong. I'm pretty sure there was something like a settlement that you could place and you could start upgrading certain things around it. Judging by some of the comments I read, like I said, I never even really got much further than just exploring the first few minutes of the game. Although I want to try it even more now, of course. So it looks like though they have now settled for the settlement system completely, and you won't be necessarily building anywhere. You'll be able to have campfires where you'll be able to save progress or respawn out in the open world, but it doesn't look likely you're going to be able to build giant massive bases or just have it defending. And I guess that makes sense as well, since they've changed the PvP nature. It's no longer a full PvP game. You can opt into PvP and you can only do that in a town, so you can't just basically attack someone out in the wild and then quickly turn on or turn off the PvP, which is a good thing. I think that goes a long way to helping some people maybe think this game could be for them again. If you have to go all the way back to a town to turn the PvP on or off and you've got someone chasing you that whole time, it may make you think twice about attacking someone. But yeah, the settlement system needs explaining, so let's go through some of that stuff now. And this post is a bit old now. I have covered it in various access shows talking a little bit about it, but we'll go into it in a bit more detail in case you've missed it. So when you step forth onto Aeternum, you will be able to claim a land if no one else has claimed it. Your land, your territory will be yours, and you, if you form a company, will be the governor. You'll be doing it in the name of your faction, so the 3 factions we covered, the Marauders, Covenant or the Syndicate, and everything you do needs to be upkeeping that settlement. Now these settlements won't be the point of attack. When you are having a battle or war with another faction or another group of players, you'll be fighting it out in a territory fort. But these areas right here, they are not going to be having players running around attacking each other. This is all just about where you socialise. It's your community hub, a bit like Destiny and the Tower. So as a governor, you can decide what gets upgraded in your settlements, and you can set settlement tasks and other players can come and help you. They're calling them town projects, and they're pretty much a case of slaying 20 creatures, get 20 raw hides, and all players will contribute to this. And you can see you've got bars, so it's going to take a fair amount to reach your goal, and each one of these that gets completed is going to give you a buff, or anyone that's part of that town a buff. Now, to be part of that town, you have to actually buy a home. You're going to be able to decorate your homes inside and out. You can unlock your first house at level 20, and you can purchase another one at level 40 and 60. So you could have technically 3 houses in 3 different settlements across the land. But if you just want to visit, maybe that area is somewhere new to you, you can still go and use some of the amenities in there. You'll be able to buy and sell items, I do believe, but you don't necessarily have to be a part of that faction. It's only if you want to be a part of that settlement, you will start gaining some benefits. You will get some buffs if some of them fortification or town upgrades are completed. And I like that idea, you know, banding together, you're the leader, you're setting stuff going on, building up these town projects, completing them to get buffs, upgrading certain aspects of your settlement to focus on one thing or another. That's pretty cool. Part of the town or settlement is that you have levels, and you can gain levels which will give you access to better upgrades, but you'll also lose levels if you're attacked by the AI. The AI hordes that will come forth, if they basically win the corrupted, then you may lose a level, and I'm guessing if you lose too many levels you may end up losing control. You'll also lose level if you're not paying your upkeep, and upkeep is paid in gold as it normally is in most of these games. You'll have taxes that you can set on people living in your settlement, and there'll be fees as well if they decide to go and use any of your crafting stations and stuff like that. And you've also got payrolls, how you can divvy out earnings between members of your company. Now the company is just like every other clan you've ever been a part of in any other type of game like this. Looks like there will be options for clan members to rank up, etc. And you can have consoles, which are pretty much side governors. You're the governor, but if you want other people helping make decisions, you can appoint people to have exactly the same abilities as you to control your company, control your settlement, and control your territory. So it sounds pretty simple. You keep your territory by making sure your forts stay up. You engage in war mode with another faction, another group of players, another company, and you defend your territory outpost against players. And as long as you do that, you keep your settlement. Your settlement gets upgraded, people can contribute to the upgrades, and you can set your taxes and fees, and you can pretty much specialize in certain aspects to make it that your town is much more abundant in maybe keeping away the corrupted, judging by some of this stuff with the territory. You don't have to own a home to go through these territories and use them, but if you do own a home in it, you'll get all the buffs and some extra perks. So, no bases by the looks of things. You will not have bases. Why do you need to build lots of bases in and around the world if you're part of a fort where you can literally go and buy your own home? Reminds me a little bit of Skyrim and the Homestead update, or what was the Homestead? I can't remember it. Home Hearth? Half Home? Half Hire? One of them. God, it's old. But yeah, a little bit like that. Again, I guess if they're really veering away from survival, the boring aspects and some of the aspects that make it not so fun, having to grind for resources just to build 4 walls to get over your head. Yeah, but a big part of survival is people really like them aspects. They really like the customization from building their own homes. If that's taken away completely, yeah, I could see this not gaining as much traction. It's going to be a new experience for sure. It looks like they're trying to meld a lot of the MMO aspects we've seen in more traditional PC games with some survival aspects. Maybe, like the attack-wise, it's actually going to be like Mordu, the fighting, but not without the grindiness or the toxicity of some of them survival games. All in all, a good few blog posts there, a good few details, but it's definitely some of the information I've gained today from PC Gamer that has made it much more interesting, as well as the MMORPG website. Right, let's go through what they've also listed here as well. I'm not going to cover some stuff I've already covered. If you don't know, PvP is opt-in, opt-out. As we've talked about already, you only can turn it on when you're in towns. What I am interested in is the progression system. So it says here there's weapon mastery, trade skills, faction reputation, territory standing, and the PvP elder game. Weapon mastery involves you increasing your skills and stats with specific weapons simply by using them. You'll have 30 skill unlocks to choose from, and you can set up each weapon to your specific playstyle. Trade gives you more than a dozen different trades, details not finalised, and expect this number to grow over time. You can gain faction reputation simply by playing the game. The more work you do for your faction, you'll unlock new gear and consumables. Similarly, territory standing is increased simply by playing in one of the many territories across the map. You'll get special bonuses and upgrades such as increased storage space, decreased taxes on trade, additional XP in that territory, and more. So it may pay to spend a bit of time in one location rather than just going all over the map. The PvP Elder game is going to be the castle sieges, and that's pretty much going to be versus other players. They're calling it the PvP Elder game. PC Gamer calls it War. Who knows which one it's going to be. They're stressing though that this is about players' skill rather than their level. It's all about what you bring to it with your directional attacks or some of your weapons or your choices rather than necessarily what level you are. And it looks like this is going to be done on player servers that could potentially house up to 2,000 players. The devs have also spoken about adding more features in the future if it's based on feedback, like maybe naval warfare. As I mentioned earlier, dungeons and stuff like that, or raids, could be added in after launch too. And someone asked if there was going to be mounts coming to the game, and they said no, but who knows, it could be something they add in the future. So New World's definitely one of these games that looks like it's going to be a live service where it's going to upgrade itself and develop over time. Let's just hope it's in a good state to launch, and that's okay. It doesn't have to have a billion features, but it's got enough to keep players interested, and they certainly do start adding more content to it. I'd really hate to see them have to take a year and a half, nearly 2 years, like maybe ESO, to get the right kind of standing with their player base, and then start going from strength to strength there. Now, recurring theme in the articles, and from the same articles from last year from PC Gamer, is that the combat is okay. It's not like really involved in depth like some games, completely like Mordu, but it's got that same sort of vibe, same sort of feeling. You will be using directional combat. They like the war mode. All the reviews that I spoke about have said the war mode is great. Seeing 50 players versus 50 players is good enough. Apparently there were testings for 100, but that kind of got scaled back down just to 50 versus 50, and they've changed the way that fortifications can be improved. Originally, territory forts could be built up very freehand, but they've changed that and made it more structured. and made it a little bit easier just to implement defenses and stuff like that. Again, I feel like this is either going to piss people off or it's going to make people love it more. Some people really like creativity in these types of games, and often they're pretty restricted in MMOs about what they can do in terms of building and crafting. Hence why survival games are so popular. Literally though, the other way, some people might find that that aspect is just boring and grindy. Now, briefly touch on the censorship issue and people breaking NDA. There's lots and lots of reports on Reddit from people just being banned for giving any sort of feedback, and they've got special forums as well for people that are taking part in the alpha. So the people taking part in the alpha should have no problem voicing concerns. They should be able to legitimately criticise good points and bad points. But it does look like some people have been taking it to heart too much and been just really hyperbole on them forums and sort of been kicked by moderators. Of course, they've then come to maybe sites like Reddit and released a bunch of details, which I'm not going to go over. But of course, then that kicks off another wave of bans, and because they're breaking NDA. So I kind of get where Amazon are coming from in that respect. But I also kind of get why some players might feel this is a bit too strong. It's just part and parcel having a big alpha where you've got thousands of players. Stuff is going to get out. Fair play to Amazon for doing it. Some games companies really wouldn't be going to these lengths. It would be much closed betas and stuff like that. And of course, everyone's going to be able to try the beta if they pre-order it when it comes out in April, the beta. The biggest takeaway I've taken from this is that definitely New World is no longer a survival game. It's much more traditional MMO, but without some of the boring just point and click attack motions from the MMOs that I've seen or played in the past. They're still veering up for PvP. They want to make it attractive by getting lots of rewards and unlocks by taking part in PvP based items or contributing to your faction. And from the looks of things, the skills, the progression system looks okay. The factions are pretty bog standard, and I'm interested in how the settlement system could work. So, even though it's not a survival game anymore, I definitely still will be covering New World. I'm definitely keen to see what goes on. Let me know what you're thinking about New World. Is it going to be something for you? It looks like it's more and more becoming more like ESO. I'd like to call this a more populist MMO. So yeah, let me know what you think about New World, and go and check out all my other survival news, and I'll see you rat bags later.